Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We're excited. Happy Friday, or if you're watching this later, happy whatever date it is. But it's Friday for us, and it's very exciting. It's the last day of our MATLAB Expo week. We've been, especially Jan and I, have been pretty much talking about MATLAB and Python all day, every day for the last week. So this is awesome. Glad to wrap it up here together. What do you think, Jan? Are we ready?
Oh yeah, it's been a full week, very intense. Lots of stuff around MATLAB and Python. I'm still struggling with my Git repo right now, so
So it's okay.
I
Don't
will
worry about it.
appreciate the weekend after that.
Exactly. So you're
Yeah.
gonna just take a pause from that stuff, and we're gonna talk some fun stuff about MATLAB from Python. So today, yeah, yesterday we called Python from MATLAB. So we spent a lot of time in MATLAB, poking around at Python calls. Today we're gonna spend a lot of time in Python doing just the same with our MATLAB code and even some of the code that we wrote yesterday. So, kind of like we did yesterday, I guess we will, talk about some of the common cases, but we have it sort of broken up into some of the most common questions that we've heard, especially since we've been hearing a lot from everyone this week. So it's been really wonderful, and these are the most common questions that we hear. How to connect, how to set up. If you were here yesterday, I promise I will not be showing how horrible I am at Windows. So we will just give you some advice, and we'll also talk about some of the common data conversions. And we spent a lot of time on this, whenever we had Python data in MATLAB, we'll do the opposite. So we'll talk about that. And then, Jan and I, especially all week, we've been really, diving in with a lot of users, talking about things like debugging. And then Jan's got some really great points on running parallel code and Simulink and sort of all the wonderful things that you want to run from MATLAB or from Python whenever you want to use your MATLAB code. So what do you think? I guess we didn't really introduce ourselves. Maybe we should just do a quick, I'm Heather. Thank you. I just want to make sure in case you're just joining us for the first time, Jan and I work together on the MATLAB product management team, largely on MATLAB and Python together. Jan, I guess you introduce yourself. I don't want to just be the only one talking.
Sure. So thank you, Heather, for having me today. I'm very glad to be a part of this session, the second part of the session on the live stream on MATLAB with Python. I joined your team, the MATLAB product team, recently, like it's been 11 months now, so time is flying. It's incredible.
I know.
I feel like it was yesterday already.
I know. Well, hey, you're already, in Simulink now. So, geez, you're doing great. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we are very happy to answer your questions. And my background is in physics, so I use MATLAB, Python, C, Java occasionally. And so, we're very happy to help you as you're integrating code, as you're kind of working side by side, give you some advice. So feel free to put any questions in the chat, and we'll take some pauses in between sections also so I can breathe and drink more coffee. Maybe I should drink less coffee. But anyway, let's start by connecting to MATLAB. Or yeah, so now hold on, let me get out of PowerPoint. This is why I can't do this. It's Windows problems. Hashtag Windows problems for me. Okay, so also someone asked about MATLAB dark mode, so we'll just get that away right right off the bat. No, so anyways, the very first step, since we're calling Python, or we're calling MATLAB from Python, right? So the first thing, we're using a MATLAB engine API, so you need to have MATLAB installed, well, and Python, right? So that's one thing just kind of get straight first. And then there also is this setup.py script that you want to install or that you want to run just so they're connected. So, that way you're able to do what we're talking about. Oh, yeah, I did try to do this, but would need to do admin mode. So I am going to at least show command line because that is where I'm happy. And I can just do this. So anyways, this is where MATLAB is installed. So this is basically MATLAB root. And that way you can just copy and paste. Like this is where the script is installed. And then you just install. I'd already done it before, so it was very fast. One thing, I did just to note, I did start it in administrator mode. You want to make sure you have permissions. Sometimes you're going to get, I guess this is, I was going to say you could just, chmod, blah, 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 but this is Windows. But anyways, those are the things to kind of watch out for, just permissions. And like we painfully saw Heather struggle over yesterday, like environment variables and path settings and things like that. And I do still promise a follow-up video on explaining that for real later on. But so anyways, that's the, the first kind of step. And if anybody has any specific questions or questions about, or, struggles that you've run into, getting kind of connected to begin with, just, put them right in the chat and we can try to help you out. All right. So we've installed. So let me actually go to Python. Let's see, what should I use today? I use Jupyter because I had it open already. So yesterday we showed an example on predicting air quality. So that's going to be our goal, is to call the prediction that we created in MATLAB. It had called data from Python and then did a prediction. So now we want to just pull that all together and do all that from Python. So we talked about this. This is, we just installed the MATLAB engine API. So we did the setup.py, and now we just import it and start the engine. Vroom, vroom. Sorry.
Vroom, vroom.
Start the That's like a very start the engine. Okay, here we go. All right. It has. I've been talking a lot. a lot. Yann's working on an automated driving example we were talking about earlier. Maybe that's why it was a weird random pun. But now we have started it effectively. And I'll also show in a minute that we can connect to an active or an existing MATLAB session too. But this is, starting a MATLAB process in the background. It's not really, it's not opening a whole desktop or anything like that. The one that you may see is one I already had opened. So we can just call it, no problem. We call it, we just called this M, a variable. So we just use that and we can call our MATLAB functions. No big deal. So we use square root. We'll just not be creative and do that again. And of course I get an error.
No.
This is my life. It's just Friday. I'm just kidding. I did it on purpose. Obviously, you would be seeing me like sweating and like struggling through. Again, if you were here yesterday, you would
just
see.
judge, from the face of Heather,
like
to see if it's scripted or not. If she's turning blue or completely in another color, it means it wasn't.
Oh no, an error! How terrible. But I think it's wonderful because the execution error is right here. So you know immediately that it's from MATLAB and it, it's throwing both error messages. So there, I recovered. Yes. So right away we can see, especially if you're familiar with MATLAB, it shouldn't be hard. This is what you were going to see in MATLAB. But we can see we have a data type situation on our hands. So that also leads into a big question that I had we had put in the agenda just to talk about, because data types, the defaults are different in MATLAB and in Python. So in MATLAB, most functions are written for double or float data type. And so that's the same with square root. It was passing in an integer. So I could just put a little 0.0 or, to put float around it to change it. So anyway, we like to talk about that right off the bat, right, Yann? Because that's one of the ones that is just like, okay, yeah, I forgot. Make sure you have the right data type in, and then we can talk about the right data types on the way out. All right. So now, this is basically, again, we kind of, we've talked about this, whatever, awesome function you want to call from MATLAB, k-means or FFT, whatever it is. So now we can see how we could call that prediction that we wrote yesterday. So this is, I'm just, getting the access key that we had shared yesterday, and our special bonding experience as part of our MATLAB Expo stuff. We've been breaking security protocol left and right.
We won't do that anymore.
We're having fun with our friends. It's okay. So we'll use the API key and see what the weather is like in Boston. And today it is right now 59 or 57.9 Fahrenheit. So it's it's quite nice, nicer than many times that we've been doing this demo lately. So, this is a dictionary in Python. So it's just bringing us back from the web and parsing and pulling out the information that we need from the prediction, right? So yesterday we had talked about how to, deal with that, manage the dictionary brought from Python into MATLAB. And so now we'll just call it, keep our fingers crossed.
We have some people that are very enthusiastic on the chat. They say hello. So I'm just saying hello back.
Hello.
Hello
Excellent.
to you.
Excellent. All right. So
the people are very happy to see you program and call MATLAB from Python. They are very enthusiastic about that.
Good. Very good. I like it. I'm having fun, except for I just got an error. What did I do? Okay. This is likely from my path thing yesterday. Undefined function, predict air qual for input arguments of struct. I literally just ran this.
It's not a struct, is it? Data, yes, it's a struct.
Where did I go? Where did I go?
So this is your face when it's not a scripted.
I know, this was not a scripted thing. I ran it right before this. Yeah, that's the right directory. All right, let me just restart the kernel. I could have had a conflict. But I will just do this and make sure that I have another kernel started, so I could be confusing myself. Did we want to talk about?
Gonna try it also on my end and tell you.
Yes. Yes. Well, that is running. No, I'm fairly confident it's because I took things off of my path yesterday and I didn't put it back on, so it doesn't.
Might be linked to that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So perhaps we'll go back to Yann's. But I wanted to show some of the basics. So again, the air quality prediction wasn't the main part of the demo. So I'll just mention so you don't see me struggle much longer. The reason it doesn't see this, I just checked. It's on the MATLAB path. I believe it's on the Python path. I've been running this demo all week and it seemed to be fine. But whatever happens when you go live, the magic isn't there today. So, but the very first thing I would do is go back to my environment settings. And so it would be very easy for me on Linux. I would just, make sure my directory is in the path and make sure it's on the Python path. And so those are the very first things I would do. Make sure my MATLAB path is straight up, make sure my, Python path is straight up, make sure the system can talk to everything, and then it should be set. And like I said, literally 15 minutes ago was fine. But I wanted to point out a couple of things about the syntax before we move on.
Yeah, we never show that. That's good that you take the time.
Yeah, and I think that it's really important because these are some of the things that are, kind of those fundamental differences between, the syntax or between the languages that you just need to think about whenever you're, planning out your pipeline. In MATLAB, you could have as many output arguments as your function has, right? I mean, I think k-means has literally 7. So, in Python, you don't really have that. You just have it in one variable, right? And so you can just tell it just narg out equals whatever you want, right? So just GCD, just because it was the first thing that pops into my head whenever.
What is a GCD?
Greatest common denominator.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sure. No, I just make sure I'm
of course, it's another
Wayback. I got to go to the Wayback machine for that one. Because I was like, oh, I'll just pick something that everybody knows from math. And I'm like, I don't. Well, maybe I'll think about something easier next time, or that we don't. Anyways, I don't have to think too much about. But then we get the 2 outputs, right? So we can just index and get back out what we need. So that's basically the workflow when you have multiple. So if we had, k-means and we wanted all 7 outputs, then we can put them there and then just index. So I wanted to show too, this is also true for no arguments out, right? So that's not something that you want to, or that you can do, and it will error. So you want to put narg out equals 0 for things like that. I mean, a lot of times these would be functions that are doing an importing and a saving or things like that. Or, like if you want to call like a MATLAB Easter egg, just so you can be funny on live YouTube. Yay! Spy! Yeah.
So who is that?
That's actually Pat's dog, the manager of MATLAB math team. So Spy is the visualization for sparse matrices. And so you can see it's a great actually for missing data and like just seeing where the ones and zeros are basically. But so I just wanted to show just something that didn't have any output arguments, and it's awesome. So if you have a favorite MATLAB Easter egg, maybe I can try it, type it in the chat if you want me to give it a shot. But actually, you know, it's interesting because whenever I was doing this, I tried a couple, you know, some of those ones like the Game of Life is like an app, right? So oops, let me, oh geez, I think it's just see how well, oh, see how well I know my MATLAB Easter eggs. So this is the Game of Life.
If you wouldn't have passed arg out equals 0, what would have happened in this case?
I would not have had this much fun. So let's find out.
Just gonna ruin.
Ruin everything. But
okay,
it should be easy though, because it says too many output arguments. So right away I know, oh, okay, narg out. So, and you know, narg out number arguments out. So it's easy to remember.
It's yeah, it's pretty logic.
Yeah.
So I'm just adding this one to the list of things. In live. Life in live.
Yeah, I think it's fun. And I think we've even, there used to be a MATLAB answers thread. Well, it's probably still there, of your favorite MATLAB Easter eggs. So you should add yours there. Also, but I mean, if you don't want to just have fun because it's Friday and show silly things, you know, a couple things to note. Oops, that just ruined my joke or my explanation with a joke. You know, this is actually like a MATLAB window, right? Because it's running a MATLAB in the background. But so you, you know, if I didn't have MATLAB open, this would still happen the same way, right? So I just wanted to point that out. You know, a lot of times we get questions about these. Oh, Yann, you're muted if you're trying to say something, I think.
Oh, sorry. I was talking.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Yeah, maybe I was thinking maybe I just didn't hear you, and I thought you were yelling in French or something about the error.
It's yeah, my natural language is whenever I see red, I turn to French.
I understand. But I did just want to point out that you could actually do something useful, like use a proper app from MATLAB, like something like Classification Learner would just pop right up. Yeah, I did it earlier. Oops.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so again, of course, you want to make sure you're passing in the right data types. You know, you get arrays together. You can make MATLAB arrays. Here, we'll share these links in the doc as well. So if you want to just instantiate or construct, you know, a MATLAB array, you know, from your Python array to be able to pass it into an app like that, no problem. So, you know, it just popped up. And again, if I didn't have the other MATLAB open, no problem, it would still pop up because it's there. It's just not running with a full desktop. So, however tempting it is to talk about machine learning for the rest of the time, I wanted to talk about, since we just talked about connecting MATLAB, I wanted to talk about that. So if I wanted, instead of running that one in the background, hold on, let me be responsible for like once in my entire life and exit this one. Okay, ready? I did it. I cleaned up after myself. I didn't leave any hanging loose ends except for that error that I didn't fix, but that's fine. We'll just move on with life because it's Friday. All right, new kernel. If we wanted to connect to one, not a problem. So we will go into MATLAB and run, oh geez. Let me go back to the documentation so you don't have to see all my weird stuff. Here it is. So we run this command to share the engine. No big deal. It should not have been that hard, but it's Friday. I don't want to have to do too much thinking. Now we can share. Isn't that nice?
This one is pretty cool.
I think so. So that way you don't have to have so many processes, like especially when you're debugging too, like you can, you know that you're working in the right, like the same process. You don't have, extra library conflicts to think about or whatever.
And what's cool is that you can see in your workspace what are the variables that you're passing, from MATLAB to Python and vice versa. That's
exactly. Exactly. And we'll actually give a link to that too, because you can access the workspace from Python too. So you can do some, manipulation. And again, it's very useful for debugging. So since we're talking about data, we talked about data in, that we want to make sure we're putting the right, we want to make sure we get the data type that we can use, right? Excuse me. Pollen count. Pollen count. I don't know if that was in our weather thing, but it's very high today.
Ooh.
So yeah.
We need to develop an application for that.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Someone asked yesterday about our Arduinos. Maybe that'll be it. I'll have the pollen beeper or some things, and I can just like stay inside. Just kidding.
You have such a thing? You have there are sensors in order to detect the level of pollen there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the one at MathWorks has a. We were either talking about it, I don't remember if it has it or if we were talking about it. But yeah, you can get one. I think I saw it on Adafruit. But yeah, anyways, that'll be a great one. We'll add that to our home weather thing.
Your long list of shopping online with Adafruit.
Someday. But so, this is, life is easy if you're using scalars, and everyone knows what's going on behind the scenes, right? And languages, oh wait, I wanted to use Pascal because it's French. That's why I had it. See? So I'm creating a MATLAB matrix. So we did magic one of the times. So you could make a 3x3 matrix based on the Pascal formula. Anyway, it's French. It's for you.
Let me Google that.
Yeah, I could probably talk about anyway. So it's just a little, I guess it's the same way. As I say, it's a little easier whenever they're integers or something like that, but easy enough to see. So you can see this is just, a MATLAB double array. It looks basically like we would see in MATLAB itself. It's a 3x3 matrix. So this would be, the first row, second row, third row, right? So whenever we're doing this, we can just index, right? We showed this the other way too. It's like, it's a MATLAB double, but if you're element by element indexing, it'll return the data type, or the underlying data type properly. If you want to say slice, then you're going to get the same type back, like the MATLAB double type. So you can convert, again, this is just like we talked about yesterday and before, no problem. It's just kind of understanding the data types that come back and what you want to do with it and what shape that you want it to be in later, right? So if I want to convert it, I can, like, no problem, right? So again, just like we said yesterday, we'll show we'll share a doc example and like a page that has the whole table of conversions and things like that. But so pause, breathe, coffee. All right. But so if we wanted to actually, say like take it out one by one or slice and dice and, change things up, it is fairly easy. We showed X, where are you? Here you go. So this is our X variable that our MATLAB double, just as a reminder, and we can access the data, right? So this is the data underlying. So there are a couple of, oh, geez.
I'm just answering some questions in
tab. Oh, good. So there are a couple of things that we could do with the MATLAB array, right? We could continue to call MATLAB functions on it. We could, reshape, index, that kind of thing. But like I was just showing, we can also access the data kind of as it is represented in memory in Python. So this is going to also be more efficient in some ways. I spent like yesterday, I was thinking through this and I'm like, oh my gosh, how many millions of ways can I think to convert this thing? So this was the cleanest way, but I did comment out another one just in case you prefer another. But basically like the situation is, let me print X again. Sorry, I'm jumping around. That's not as clear. Darn. But so it's not actually like this in line, right? So it's a 1 1 1. So that's the column, and then 1 2 3 1 2 3. And so it is okay, all right. I was like, it's just my well, I was gonna draw it out so you could see it a little bit better.
So you're
there it is.
to unpack the data, the way it is stored underneath the hood.
Okay.
Yep, it's
oh wow. Oh wow.
You're trying to draw?
No, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get out of it.
It's not very successful what you're trying to do as a.
Okay. We're back. Oh my, what is happening? Like, I just have like really bad live stream luck right now. Okay. Rest assured, whatever that was, rest assured that this is not exactly displaying the same representation that you saw earlier. So this is displaying, like, it's basically, okay, MATLAB is column major. Other languages are row major. And behind the scenes, it's all C anyway, which is row major, right? So that's why it's very convenient in MATLAB to just, index from the matrices. It's a matrix language. This is how you behave in linear algebra world. And so, usually we do all those things behind the scenes. But sometimes, depending on what you want out of it, you may want to reshape and deal with it exactly how you want. Now, I will say, because this is what Yann does to me, like I show this super complicated way to do it. And he's like, oh, why don't you just do that? you can just call like NumPy and just convert it directly if it's just if it's just numbers like this, So that's no problem. Like I'm not going to show that. That's stupid easy, right? It's just like NumPy array X and we're done. I just like to write code and confuse people live. So let's do this.
I like it. And that's good because you're actually teaching me lots of stuff of what's happening, under the hood. So I like it.
Well, and also it's not always a matrix. Of course, if you're trying, I would imagine sometimes if you're calling MATLAB from Python, you're going to want the goods, right? You want the linear algebra, you want the signal processing, you want the stats and stuff, right? So it's something that you really want to think about because not only is it the data type, but the arrangement of the data you want to think through. And this is just true for any arrays. So there are times that you don't want that same arrangement or your calculation doesn't make sense or it's not whatever package you're using, it's not behaving the same way. So, we can sort of unpack, repack, reshape, resize, and obviously, if it was NumPy, or whatever other thing you want to do, I also just say that because it's also a common conversion between, MATLAB and data frames and things like that. So, but that's another one you just want to keep an eye out for the possible need to reshape. And also, again, I will swear I will stop talking in 1 second. That's also the reason I'm using this data syntax too. It's going to be more efficient, right? Because it's accessing the underlying data instead of converting at the higher level. Whew. Okay.
Yeah.
There you have it. So
it's very intense for Friday, I have to tell you. I think I'm much more than on traditional Fridays. So
I got excited. So I know Fridays I like to play Python and MATLAB. But I think that really gives I think we talked about this before. We hadn't really talked in depth. We show a lot about in MATLAB because a lot of people want to do predictions and things, but we haven't really spent the time that we I think deserve to spend in Python doing the other thing because it's just as you need the same kind of advice, what's the best way to do these things. And so the type and the possible reshaping depending on what part of the data you're accessing. Just again, something to keep in mind. So I think let me just check back here. Also, just I'll kind of quickly just mention this. I could have, especially whenever I have the two MATLABs open, I can put in breakpoints. I can, I could have put in a breakpoint in that weather function, stopped it. Even you could use like, I could have used m.dbquit or dbstop, sorry, the MATLAB debugging commands. So even I think the other day I was doing it and I just, continue, db blah, blah, blah. DB is debug for MATLAB. So we talked about this yesterday, like the other way around. So I think, Yann, please take over, and I will take a break from talking and interview you about the things that you've been working on and helping people with, like Parallel and Simulink.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me know if there are some questions while we take a little breather and Yann shares the screen.
Oh, it seems to be all right. I think we don't have questions for now.
Right.
So you want me to share the presentation and go on from the parallel one?
Yes, yeah, because you had taken a really nice video of that one example that you showed those users. Sorry, I don't want to be teasing who it was exactly, but it's very handy, because again, one of the things you want to, if you're using Python, you want MATLAB, you want the goods, and parallelism and debugging, those are all kinds, and obviously Simulink, in addition to all the math things that we want. So
right. You must see my screen right now.
Yes,
so
definitely.
This is something you've already shown. I'm not going to go into that, but and debugging, you've just mentioned that. So right now we are at running parallel code from Python. So what's pretty cool is that MATLAB has a very handy way of handling parallelism, which, like if you're a MATLAB user, you probably know about all of this. If you're a Python user, that might be new for you. So you might want to, come closer to your MATLAB friends and try to do stuff together, because it could really make your life easier. And so the idea with this short video is we're going to show you a very simple example. It's called the birthday example. So, it's if you have a group of people in the room, it's just computing the probability that two people would have the same birthday. The problem is that we had just not enough in this room to make this game, but let's assume that we would have a room full of people. That would be 30 people. And here we're going to take a pool of 4 in order to parallelize the probability, because it's a problem that can be very well parallelized. So we're going to play the video, and I'm going to go along and explain to you what it does. So this par for loop, let me just pause quickly. This par for loop, it's just a very simple way to express the parallelism of a for loop. You just put par in front of it. So yeah, that's really dumb, but super easy.
Makes
and
sense.
So it would just essentially use all of the capabilities of your machine. It will run in the back, as many jobs as you can with the numbers of cores that are available. And so they'll just do everything under the hood without you knowing anything particular about, parallel computing. So we're going to run this from Python. And so the idea is that just like as I just showed you, we can, type Python. You can start the Python engine from the command line like this. And here we're going to monitor at the same time the use of the CPU and also the different processes that are launched. So right now you just have a Windows command. You're starting a MATLAB engine. Boom. As you can see, it was in 20B, but nevertheless, you can see a process, a MATLAB process that is starting. MATLAB is running. As you can see, it's taking lots of CPUs. So we're just starting this very yeah, that's normal. So we're starting this parallel pool. As you can see, there's a response directly to the command prompt saying that this run birthday is going to start 4 different MATLAB sessions, and it's going to run in parallel. So we have 3 workers, and my understanding of parallel, but maybe you can correct me, Heather, is that the fourth one is going to do like it's with MPI. I think it's the same, this message pacing interface, where you have one that is a master and the 3 others are the workers, and the master is just handing out all of the compute to the different workers, and then as soon as it's done, then it can take it back and beam, as you see. 0.7,
exactly.
0.77, so 0.7 is 70% of chances. Ta-da-da! So super quick, super efficient, and all of it's just called from Python. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Any question, is there?
No, I think this is really important, especially, I mean, it's a birthday example, just, so we don't have to go into all kinds of explanation about the backstory, but, this is really common, especially when you're using, a lot of people will do big number crunching, signal processing and matrix calculations and machine learning and things like that. So it's really, really handy. And Simulink too. I think that is another. I think every time I've given this presentation, someone's asked, "Can I do this in Simulink?" I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And finally, Yann made a video of himself calling it in Simulink. That's perfect.
Do I have a video?
Or maybe. Oh wait, I think I have. No, whatever. You can. You can.
You have it. You have the video.
Wait.
Because essentially, the demo that I was thinking about is this very simple PID. It's just a Simulink model that takes an echelon, a step in as input, and you make it go through this control loop with a plant that is a very simple second order system. As you can see here, no, it's not a video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking. I don't know why. Whenever you were showing me, maybe I was thinking it was a video. Sorry.
It's a live demo with me talking. So the idea is that, and actually I think I could maybe even do that live.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty much the last thing that we wanted to really cover. As I mentioned before, we spent a lot of time on deployment and some of the other videos and showed about debugging and things like that. So, yeah, I feel like if you want, we could,
of course,
look at it.
I need to share all of my screen then. What I've done is that, okay, now you will probably be able to see my screen. So what I've done is that I'm opening this model. I'm not a super power user of Simulink, so the only kind of thing that I can do is, so here I've been starting, this taking the directory, using this directory in order to start a MATLAB engine, a session unlike Heather before. She was starting it not interactively. So in this case, I've passed this dash desktop argument as an input to the start MATLAB, to starting the engine. Vroom vroom, and I've started also the project. As you can see, this project is starting Simulink, so you can pass this as an option. Here we are just opening the project that is in the MATLAB session. Where is this MATLAB session? So this MATLAB session here, it has a project in it. So where is it? This is a project here. When you start the project, it's going to start Simulink as well, as you can see here. Where can you see that? In the project, the startup shutdown. Here you can select starting Simulink before this project starts. So this is what we've done in order to set up the project. So just a small sneak peek into projects with Simulink and MATLAB. So this is what we've done. We've started Simulink, and very simple ways to open the system. So here we have a system that is called Simulate PID. It's going to be located in one of those, probably the first one, or wherever in the source here, Simulate PID. So the good thing is that one of the things that projects are doing, they are loading every element into the path so that you can, access them. Here, this source directory, I've been able to access it directly, and just opening, open system, the name of the system, and that's it.
Actually, before you move on too, I wanted to mention about eval C, because that's a nice not
Yep.
trick, I didn't want to say, but tip is in MATLAB eval C just like evaluate like C. So it just evaluates the expression kind of like you would do on the command line in C. So it's really nice way to, just type out the entire command that you would want to do. So it's a nice one. Thank you for adding that in there because it's really handy. Definitely. A lot of times it's all C in the back end anyway, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I think it's good indeed because we didn't cover this command previously. This is
Yeah.
one of the commands that turns out to be handy when you're,
Mm-hmm.
running some stuff in the back like this. And afterwards, you have all of the different functions that are available. That's why I was, let me go back to the slides. I was mentioning those links in the documentation, and I will be sharing them with our audience right now. Here you go.
Awesome.
Bim. So those are the ways to programmatically interact with Simulink. So loading a system, what have I done just now? Opening the system as well. You can open system. You can set parameter. You can get parameter. So those are the different ways to interact with your Simulink model. You can add blocks. You can connect them. Well, basically, there's a lot of things you can do interactively that you can do also with a command line in a programmatic way. Sorry.
Right.
So all of this and obviously running the simulation, right? Like saving the system and running the simulation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great because we always get a lot of questions, people trying to, run their simulation and then do something else with it afterwards or before or after or something like that. So it was, I think that's really helpful to, go through some of those options.
So
All right.
here I also used, what did I do? Oh yeah, I've tried to do something, but I think it was already existing. Does not exist or is not open. Oh, I get an error. That's okay. I'm gonna handle that later on. Sysprint is a function in order to print essentially the diagram. If you pass the name of a file, of a Simulink file with the sysprint function, you're able to print this. So my idea was to automatically print this diagram that you can see from Simulink. Where is my diagram? Oh, it's not open anymore. That's why it's throwing me an error. All right. So this diagram here, I wanted to be able to print it as a PNG file or a JPEG file so that I could directly afterwards load it like this. Let me try it again. Okay. So as you can see now, it's pretty handy for making some batch compute on a model without even having to open it. Right now I opened it, but with remember the start MATLAB command with a dash desktop option, but you can also do that all completely programmatically. And one interesting thing is that you can pass different parameters, KP, KI, and KD for the PID controller. You can pass those programmatically like this so that in the end you come here and you see in your environment all of the different parameters that has been passed to the model.
That's really helpful, especially for debugging, for like the parameter sweeps and those kinds of things. Really helpful. And yeah, you're just reminding us. Oh, sorry. Good.
And I'm just mentioning here, you see that the simulation is running in Simulink, can take some time, so compiling and so on. So here afterwards, you've got the response to, I'm not a big user of Simulink, so you have the scope that you can use in order to see the answer of your, and afterwards you can retrieve those results and treat them and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just sorry I didn't interrupted you, but I was saying you're definitely reminding us about the narg out and some of the other things that we were talking about. So that was a really great example to wrap everything up, I think, together and finally answer some questions on Simulink. So yeah, I think I guess just looking at the time, we wanted to spend about this amount of time on things. So we did talk, let's go back here. We talked about calling Simulink. I think, Yann, if you want to just kind of check the chat real quick, I think we should probably leave deployment for another time because we have.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was thinking, is that we can, have a part 3 whenever I come back from holiday. And,
yes, don't brag, Yann. I know the islands will be just so wonderful. I'm jealous.
So I think it's very much worth a dedicated session.
Yeah. Yeah, and because we also even had, mentions of like Docker containers and, trying to integrate C and things like that. So we could be here forever, and it's Friday. Oh my gosh, we should give ourselves a break and give everyone else a break to absorb. But we did cover a lot of material, and really happy. This was a lot of fun. I think, again, like this is the first time we really like dug in and used Python more and showed the data conversions and things like that. So hopefully you got a lot out of it. Hopefully you answered questions. I guess we'll pause for any more that might come in here before we wrap up.
There's someone asking for help on Rangikuta. We can have a complete session on that as well.
Yeah.
Very deep one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm not ready for it.
Point to the documentation on our solvers, because Rangikuta 4. Ooh, all right. We might need to get back on you on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We can also follow up in the comments and I have the slide up. So the social media, whatever platform you like, we're always happy to talk about these things and help you out whenever you're integrating things. Also, you can call tech support. I guess we didn't mention that yesterday. We talk about, troubleshooting and doing all these things, and, you could also just like, you don't have to call them. It's not like 1982. You can just like leave a message from the doc or whatever. But you can call them too, and they'll answer the phone and they'll help you. So again, we'll come back with some deployment, Docker, that kind of goodness. Any questions that you see on, or anything you wanted to add?
We had a question about the fact that whether or not the recorded version would be up. I'm just answering the fact that this will be live on YouTube.
So right now,
done.
Like as soon as I think it might take a minute to load, but within a couple of minutes, should be able to go back slowly or fastly.
Yeah, it's part 1 indeed. We had this one question. When was that? I missed it. Yeah, someone was asking about, instead of calling MATLAB by Python, can we code Python from MATLAB? And yeah, actually, it's Arash. So we have this part 1, but I think you've shared the link for the part 1 earlier in the conversation. So yeah.
Yep. And also we'll share, I mean, that is, kind of detailed. We talked about more, detailed questions. We can also share the kind of original one where we go through the full demo, just kind of step by step, and not like dive into the details and, watch Heather bang her head against the Windows setup. I will follow up, I swear. All right, I guess that's it. It's a Friday. I think we nailed it. We had a lot of fun in Python. We called MATLAB. We even called an app. That was awesome. And then a Easter egg for our Friday excitement, and we'll give Yann a proper send-off for his vacation. And I think you did a good week of MATLAB Expo, MATLAB Python open source togetherness. Now it's time for a mic drop, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Heather.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.